Listen up, fellow cryptid enthusiasts and holiday lovers. Join us on a festive journey into the mysterious and magical world of cryptids. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll unwrap the legends and lore of 12 unique and fascinating cryptids. From the snowy peaks of Alaska to the dense forests of the East Coast, we'll explore the stories, sightings, and secrets of these elusive creatures. Whether you're a seasoned cryptozoologist or just curious about the unknown, this special podcast is your ultimate guide to the cryptids that make the holiday season even more enchanting. So grab a cup of hot cocoa, cozy up by the fire, and join us as we embark on this extraordinary adventure. Let's dive into the 12 cryptids of Christmas and discover the wonders that await.
Spotted Bigfoot in Cleveland County, and this isn't the first time. The legend continues. One man in Kaiser says he encountered the mythic beast just last week.
You know, it has been years since deputies in Cleveland County have heard stories like this.
Seriously,
look
how big it is. I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
It was a bluebird January morning here in the foothills of northeast Provo when a group of guys saw a figure on the mountain that looked like something.
Tonight at 6, social media is buzzing after a Hickory man says he captured something amazing on his cell phone camera. Video of Bigfoot.
Yeah, he recorded this video in Sheridan goes in search of the real Bigfoot story.
I tried to call him.
Tim Peeler thought he was calling coyotes.
Instead of them, him.
He got something that frightened
Was it a
even
bear? Maybe. That's plausible. Was it a person? Also plausible. Was it something else? I think that's also plausible. Who knows?
On the other hand, I spoke to a
All right. If that doesn't get your, motor running, I don't know what will. Welcome, everyone, to our special 12 Cryptids of Christmas, our final episode, our finale, and we are so excited to have a special guest with us. Before we get to him, there's Ian Herling of the Nerd Informer. How you doing, Ian?
Hey, Tom. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this is our joint venture, combining podcasts, combining knuckleheads, if you will, others bring to help assess material and questions. So same thing. First, thank you all for tuning in to our stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. You can find both of our podcasts through John Bottom Corners. Just follow the World Talking Radio Network. Or download our app. We're available on all the streaming platforms that you can think of. And this is our finale. It's just a Christmas. You got that class or something, something like that. Let me turn my mic up. How's that now,
A little static. Yeah, it's pretty staticky right now. And you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know.
Okay. Let me change my mic here. How's that now for everyone?
There you go. That's better.
Better? Okay. Good. Yeah. So I'll turn this one off for now.
I'm usually the technical problem guy.
Yeah, technical problems. Definitely technical problems.
That's usually my thing.
Right. How it goes. So yes, thank you for keeping us on top in the chat. Thank you. Pretty much Bigfoot Giants forecast. Yes, we need help when we're on the air, especially in our own studios when stuff doesn't want to work. You know how it is, Ian. So let's, without further ado, to finish up our 12 Cryptids of Christmas, Bigfoot, and let's get into the background about our guest, Daniel. Daniel J. Benoit is a founder and researcher of the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, or EC-BRO. And as a child growing up, exploring the outdoors, hunting with his father, Daniel became quite familiar with wildlife at an early age. He heard stories of Bigfoot, but it wasn't until he saw the Patterson-Gimlin footage in 2010 that sparked a fire of curiosity within him. it was then he decided he would take what he knew about the outdoors and start his own research into the elusive creature. Around that time, the subject of Bigfoot was becoming slightly less taboo and more open for discussion. And thanks to social media, Bigfoot community started developing. It was there that Daniel soon began researching purported sightings and commonalities between them, tree structures, and their possible meanings, different theories as to what Bigfoot is, and footprints versus known wildlife tracks. He also began studying great apes and the similarities they share with Bigfoot, such as long howls, whoops, tree knocks, tree structure formations, as well as the comparisons to the various characteristics and behaviors. He went into the woods with a heightened awareness and an open mind, and it wasn't long before he discovered large bipedal humanoid tracks. It was at that moment what started as a fire of curiosity turned to a passion, and the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, ECBRO, was born. Since then, Daniel conducted fieldwork in several deep remote locations all along the East Coast, and on one of those investigations in his home state of Virginia, he would have his first sighting, a family of Bigfoots. But Daniel states that he is a knower of Bigfoot's existence prior to even seeing them based on all the other data that had been collected, both from his own research and fellow colleagues in association with the ECBRO. Daniel has spoken at several events along the East Coast and had been featured in the following Bigfoot documentaries: Elusive Legend, an ECBRO story, also starring in The Beast of Elkhorn Lake in his hometown Haunts series found on Paraflix, and featured on The Hunt for Shawnee Sasquatch, which was filmed in Illinois, and coming soon, I believe, in Bigfoot. He has been featured guest on numerous podcasts and radio shows and hosts a podcast called ECBRO Bigfoot Radio. He's an author of Bigfoot research field guides and has his own YouTube channel called Bigfoot Zone, in parentheses, ECBRO. He decided to start the ECBRO not to develop a strong community of researchers, or not only to develop a strong community of researchers, but also educate and bring awareness to everyone. Because everyone deserves to know the truth and learn what is out there. Daniel started hosting public lectures at libraries, sharing his research and his scientific-based beliefs. Daniel has spoken at the University of Virginia and has gotten attention of skeptics with his views on the subject. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Daniel. Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on a podcast. I've kind of been, I don't know, kind of taking a break more or less. So, but it actually feels good to be back on a podcast. So, yeah.
Well,
plus I got a good friend of mine who is actually one of my guest speakers for my event this coming year, and he was telling me, he's like, you got to get on podcasts and promote the event. I said, well, I guess so, but so
well,
but it is what it is. So.
Now you're preaching to the choir here, and I'm sure Ian will agree. Self-promotion isn't something that comes first, first off the top of our minds. We just want to talk about the cool stuff, right? And get into all
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we totally feel where you're coming from. And your current area is Virginia, right?
Yes, I am in the Shenandoah Valley right here in Virginia. So I basically grew up down here in Virginia. I'm originally from up in Massachusetts. I was 11 years old when I moved to Virginia with my family. So, so yeah, I'm 44 years old now. So you do the math. I've been down here most of my life. So,
okay,
absolutely, yeah,
excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Let's. I'll give you time at the end to promote everything that you want to promote. But this
that's no big deal.
is all about cryptids, UFOs, Bigfoot, paranormal, everything like that. So believe me, if you want to get into promotion, we have all. You come on any one of our shows, Ian's show, my show. Do the whole media tour throughout the Oracle Talk Radio Network. But let me, Ian, if you don't mind, I'll ask the first question here.
Sure, go ahead.
So, one thing, with Bigfoot, right? We predominantly associate Bigfoot, I guess more commonly is the Pacific Northwest and things like that. What can you say about the presence of these creatures on the East Coast?
That's a real good question. I'm actually glad you asked that. Well, one of the things I've always been putting out there is the East Coast is very much underestimated when it comes to Bigfoot's existence or, sightings in general. Because the Pacific Northwest, everybody looks at the, Pacific Northwest for Bigfoot,
For sure.
there is a history there, and the history is very public there. So, yeah, Bigfoot began to stand out there. People here on the East Coast, this is just my opinion. I feel like they're more to themselves and they're more humble in a manner of speaking when it comes to what they've seen. They don't. People are cautious about speaking about what they've seen out here. But I will tell you, since my involvement in this, people have been coming out of the woodwork. Little by little, more and more people are starting to speak up. Like once they get familiar with you or somebody, it's like, for example, I started to put myself out there without shame, letting people know, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to, give you any ridicule. I'm very, very open-minded. Basically that's the kind of character I want people to know. And that's what I was putting out there. And I myself, and, I've had others starting to get people to open up to them where they've had trust from these people. That's basically what I've done. I've gained the trust of a lot of people, even to total strangers. People are starting to speak up, and I myself, just based off of what I've heard over the years, the East Coast is pretty well populated. But if considering that all these claims or sightings are accurate or true, because like I tell people, you still have to take it with a grain of salt. You can't assume everything's accurate, but it's like being involved with sales. Like when I used to do sales, it was a numbers game. When I used to sell security systems for ADT, for every 100 person you speak to, you might get one sale out of it. It's kind of like the same thing with all these reports. There's thousands and thousands of reports. So basically, like I said, I look at it all as a numbers game. There's only a certain percentage that's got to be accurate or true, or maybe not even, based off of if it was a Bigfoot or a misidentification. But overall, based off of what I found on myself, as far as tracks and whatever, oddball things I've experienced out there that I can't relate or contribute to a known species, I'll put it in the realm of the unknown. So, but yeah, again, over the years, the East Coast has been very underestimated. Because, like I said, the West Coast, people are more open about it. Here on the East Coast, I'm sure you're familiar. I'm not sure where you guys are based out of, but we have a lot of hills and hollows out here. A lot of country folk out here. Some people, they absolutely. It's like the moonshiners. They ain't gonna come out and tell you where their still is. Just like that's how it is with Bigfoot. So, so people are more subtle here. They're not quick to jump out there and say, "Hey, Bigfoot's in my backyard," But basically, we do have Bigfoot here. Right where I'm at here in Virginia is like a hot spot. Right here in the Shenandoah Valley, it's in the western part of the state, west of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I'm basically sitting in the middle of the valley, and you got the Allegheny Mountains just to the west of me. And I'm not far from the West Virginia line. So, the way the Blue Ridge, the Allegheny, the way it all runs around and connects. Not to mention the Appalachian Trail. So,
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Do you ever, from all the stories and stuff that you've heard, do you notice any regional difference between Bigfoot reports and sightings? Are they bigger in the West Coast, or is there any kind of differences that you notice in the stories?
Yeah. Well, just on the reports in Virginia, based off of eyewitness descriptions, and not to mention an encounter I had some years ago, the height description, it's basically usually on average 7 foot on average here on 7 to 8 feet on average on the East Coast. But yeah, basically right here in Virginia, I could say that more for Virginia. But yeah, then again, I could expand and recall a few accounts I've had people share with me south of Virginia, but yeah, on average, they're about 7 to 8 feet on average. I've heard a lot more smaller ones around the 5 and 6 foot range, but yeah, 7 to 8 feet on average here on the East Coast. The West Coast, yeah, you hear more around the 9 to possibly 12 foot range. I mean, and it's just like I don't know if that's based off of their diet, the genes. I don't know where to contribute that. It could be, it could have something to do with the climate. It could be a little bit of, a little bit of everything. Like down in Florida and the other southern states, you have the skunk ape, which is more described with more of an odor and a longer, shaggier hair. Some people with descriptions describe more of like an orangutan, but again, that could be based off of where they're living and what they adapted to,
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think a lot of things could play a key role in appearance and size. Yeah, again, the genes and different strains of species. I think it all depends. But yeah, if you were to compare east to the west, yeah, I think the west might be a little larger. So
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And that's a good question, because, they're all over, right? They're all over. Some of them just have different names from the, different lore or the different, local townspeople, whatever they call them. And for your record, I'm right outside of Philadelphia. Ian's down in Florida. And
Okay.
and yeah, so unfortunately, the more populated side of Pennsylvania, we really don't have a lot. My co-host for Chasing Prophecy, another show that I'm on, is in the Chestnut Ridge area, which that central Pennsylvania has had a few stories. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Stan Gordon, researcher, more of a local Pennsylvania researcher. Did the whole Unsolved Mysteries back with Robert Stack and all of that kind of stuff. A legendary lover of cryptids and UFOs. And one thing, I had him on actually yesterday, so it's fresh on my mind. To ask you is, he said he in Pennsylvania, or the East Coast, right? Because he goes down to West Virginia, Ohio, and Maryland too. Down in that corner of Pennsylvania, he was saying it's been a very hot year for Bigfoot sightings and people reporting to him. Have you noticed an uptick in this year compared to previous years?
I personally have not. I'm not saying that has it. It's I haven't really heard much going on so far. I mean, I hear little things here and there, but I don't know if I haven't been paying attention or people I just haven't been sharing stuff with me. But now, Chestnut Ridge area, I know the area all so well. I mean, I lived up there for a short period of time. I did a lot of research and some exploring up there. And then like I got to meet and speak with a lot of people who have had sightings along. These areas all contribute to around the Chestnut Ridge area, which is kind of a wide range area. Yeah, because I mean, I was basically in Somerset, PA, Somerset area, and yeah, and I've heard so many interesting things from that area. But one thing I will tell you, I'll make mention of this while I'm thinking about it. When I was staying up there in Pennsylvania, it'll be as of September. It would have been a whole year, but one of the times I was out there doing some investigating at night, I've seen things I've never seen before. Some things I can't explain. Because I am very objective on a lot of things, although I do keep an open mind. One of the things I will share, I've only shared this a few times, is that I've seen these. I'm not going to say they were orbs, but they were more like flashes of light that looked like stars in the woods. No, they weren't fireflies or lightning bugs, whatever. These were, they looked like little flashes of light blue stars, maybe a couple little gold ones, and on a rare occasion, you might see one or two little red ones. Now, it's funny because prior to this, just prior to having this or noticing all this, Well, the girl I was dating at the time, we were both up there, and we had two tree knocks, two wood on wood distinct knocks, basically back to back. One out in front of where I was at, and then the second one came directly out in front of where she was sitting. And from where I was, I came over to her because she kept claiming to see eye shine. Well, I got over there and I sat right beside her she was sitting on this big stone. And I'm sitting there staring across the small field, looking at the tree line, and I didn't see nothing at first, but what I started noticing, I was like, wait a minute, that's not eye shine. What the heck am I seeing? And I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, so I had to look away for a little bit and look back, and sure enough, it started again. There was only a couple of them, and then it seemed like it was a small cluster of them in this one particular area. I don't know. She has a different belief system. She looks at things differently, and I know there's a lot of others that will probably believe this too. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but she believes it was a form of energy that Bigfoot was putting out there. Again, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but she believes that's what it was. So maybe it was, but see, again, I can't jump on board with that because I'm trying to keep an open mind, but I just don't have no evidence to support that. I mean, we can see all kinds of weird things out there that are unexplainable and not sure what it is, but I'd rather not jump to conclusions or make something up. That's just how I am.
Yeah. I hear that, but just to follow up before you even get to your question, the last two times, it's so funny that you said that because you've never met Stan. This is your first time doing a show with me. Stan, I will tell you this. The last two times I had him on have told me in the Chestnut Ridge area, at almost every single time, he said a 90% rate, when there's a Bigfoot around story, there's an unexplained ball of light. And that's so ironic that you have said the same thing in the same area without corroborating. Isn't that, interesting, Ian? Like, how about that?
I've actually never heard that, but that's kind of an interesting. That actually leads into my question.
Yeah.
You're probably the closest. From your experience, you're probably the most experienced person that I've talked to. So I'm going to ask you and get your opinion. What do you think a Bigfoot is? Do you think it's flesh and blood animal? Do you think it's something interdimensional? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'll give you my honest opinion, and it's an honest, educated opinion based off of my conclusions on my studies. And although any of my friends that are listening have a different belief system, and I feel like they frown upon me because it's just like, no, it's not that, it's this. Well, I do believe they are flesh and blood. I do believe they are an undiscovered primate of some sort. Some people believe they're humans, and they're not primates. Well, I say that and share that because people probably hear me say this all the time, but there's a contradiction in that. If you think you're half this or half that or all this and all that, when it comes to the human, non-human side of things, the reason I say there's a contradiction because scientifically speaking, we're primates. We're considered human primates. Then you have non-human primates like gorillas, chimpanzees, and so forth. And I another thing I want to make clear, I'm not saying Bigfoot is any of these. I just believe that he is of his own species, his own kind, but just has not been put into that category yet of what kind he might be. Then again, there's a side where everyone thinks he's from out of this world. Maybe he is, but I'm not going to dismiss that either because I got some real good friends that believe, that he came from out of a spaceship, and then there's other people that report seeing UFOs and a Bigfoot coincidentally. But in my honest opinion, that doesn't mean nothing.
Right.
But yeah. So
yeah,
I do believe that.
Okay, I got a question here from Oz in the chat. He wants me to ask you about tree structures and tree twists. When I visited your website, I saw a very interesting tree structure. Can you tell us about the behavior behind that?
Well, the thing is, this is one thing I'll make this very clear. I love finding various tree structures and formations. when, like, if I'm doing a field video, if I'm out exploring and I find something interesting, I'll film it.
Yeah.
I record it while I'm out there. I'll take pictures of it. And I'm not going to say Bigfoot did it, but I still refer to it and I call them nature's art, regardless of who, what, or how it was formed. Because there's several different categories. There's a lot of possibilities that should be considered before concluding that Bigfoot did do it. Because unless we witness Bigfoot making it, we don't know for sure, but we could believe or assume so. But with that being said, assuming Bigfoot is making some of these structures that we come across, more specifically the ones that look like that hadn't been made and put together with hands, and not just hands, but opposable thumbs, something we could grip with,
Yeah.
So, some of these structures or formations are very, what's the right way to use? Very complicated, where it would take something like something with some intelligence. I've come across, right, like different species of trees or different combined together, woven together, twisted, and just entwined together. Something took some time to do that. Then again, you got teepee structures. Teepee structures, I find them very fascinating, but at the same time, we still have to be very objective on that. We got to be careful because we can make those. When I was a kid, Dad used to show me and my brother how to make them. So a lot of bushcraft people are very talented and make some very unique shelters out there for survival. So, but there are certain things I do consider and believe that could be related to or made by Bigfoot, and some of them I believe could be territorial or signs of dominance, warning signs to others, like for example, like an X formation. I've always looked at these as, okay, a warning: stay out here, don't go beyond this area. Another similarity would be going down a trail, and all of a sudden you have this tree that is blocking the trail. Something that looked like it wasn't done by weather. It could have been something that pushed it over. And a lot of people believe that could be a form of communicating or a warning, not to proceed any further. But then again, I see those on occasions, and that could be a coincidence. It could have been done by a bear, because bears are very destructive of trees in so many ways. Where that's another thing where I stand out to be objective. People neglect our wildlife. They're always giving Bigfoot credit for half the things that are known species of wildlife have the ability to do. So
sure, yeah.
On that note, always give Bigfoot should be our last consideration when we're trying to figure something out. Unless you witness Bigfoot doing it, it's a whole different story then, a whole different ballgame. So, but
all right,
structures are interesting. I mean, I still find them interesting regardless. Artistic. Again, you just got to be objective on it. But I'll document if I find something that's odd. Hey, and leave it to the people, the public's, for speculation. Because they are cool to look at. But also, if you're able to identify bushcraft work, because a lot of people, I've come across bushcraft, and I see people posting pictures that are definitely bushcraft art, or people's creativity in the woods, and a lot of people they're giving Bigfoot or an unknown species credit for this, and that's where I don't get a large following because of it, so because I speak up about a lot of this. I speak with a very objective tone, but I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly. I'm just trying to put the truth out there to get people to think, get Bigfoot off your brain. Not everything's Bigfoot, there are some things we could.
I think that's the way you gotta. I think that's the way you gotta approach stuff like this. I mean, that's the way I look at things. I try to find, whether it's UFOs, whether it's paranormal, whether it's Bigfoot. You try to find the most logical answer, and when you can't find that, then maybe you can find Bigfoot.
Absolutely. I personally find it more exciting to play the rule out game. The process of elimination.
Sure. Yeah.
To me, yeah, it can be very challenging, but I think it's more entertaining to my mind. Hey, could this have been this? Could this have been it? We'll look at all different angles and possibilities. Never just assume the one subject did it. Because if that was the case, then it's like in the forensic world, or or whatever. If somebody's trying to investigate a crime, well, let's assume this guy did it, and just run with it. No, it's not the way it goes. You got to investigate.
So sticking with the tree structures for a second. Now, if I was going to build a tree structure, I would use trees that are right next to me, in the area. Has there ever been reports that you know of where they have brought trees in from maybe, if they needed a big, strong tree and there wasn't really in the area, and, trees were just out of place where they shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I can't say I've heard of it, but I could say I've probably seen stuff like that for myself.
Because that would definitely show a level of intelligence,
Right. Well, for example, that kind of goes back to some of the formations and structures I've seen where different species of trees that were woven together, anywhere from pine, cedar, small oak saplings or whatever, maple, sassafras. That's another good one I've seen out there used. And these are all a bunch of small saplings and branches and stuff. And the funny thing is, once you start identifying the different ones, if you take the time to look around, it's like, okay, well, there's some pine over that way. There's this over there, but I don't see no sassafras. Like, where did this come from? You're looking around. So for example, you have to analyze, you have to observe and think about those kind of things, and look around for that kind of thing. So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's all part of investigating. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, as far as other bigger structures, yeah, a lot of times we use what's available. If it's something already there, yeah. But yeah, as far as seeing, like, okay, there's a big giant piece of pine that laid there, and there's no pine around. Now that there I haven't seen, not on a large scale, but like I was talking about the smaller formations and stuff like that with different species. Yes, absolutely, yeah. So,
wow,
yeah, I wish I have seen a larger, but I haven't.
Yeah. And I love what you said about, and many people were commenting about the objectiveness and how you have to be, more skeptical than skeptics, especially because you don't want to lose your credibility either. So when you have, when you go down your checklist in your mind, I think when you come to, okay, it's not this, not this, not this, not this, and a Bigfoot or an authentic Bigfoot scenario is becoming more and more likely, to me, that would seem it's even more fun. Wow, I wrote all these things out. You know what I mean? Instead of starting with Bigfoot, you ended on Bigfoot, and it just makes it that much more authentic. So
yeah, that's the way I see it. Absolutely, for sure.
Now, I'll be honest with you. And anyone listening, what I'm talking about, it's easier said than done, because even at my age, there's people older than me that you go out there as much as I do. But the thing is, at my age, when I go out there, for one thing, I love nature and I love being out there, and especially for what my objective is to be out there for, it is easy to have Bigfoot on your brain, because when you see things, you're all of a sudden, okay, your blood starts pumping, and you all of a sudden, okay, and Bigfoot does come on the brain very easily when you're involved with it. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's very important to really take a step back, take a deep breath, and like, okay, wait a minute, and kind of go from there. But again, the process of elimination is very difficult. It's not that easy. So, but yeah, I want to share that because, like I said, I know it's easy to think Bigfoot, because it happens with me. It does. So everybody out there, you're not alone. I know it's easy to have Bigfoot on the brain, and it's just a natural thing when you're involved with this kind of subject.
Confirmation bias is a real thing, man. If I was out looking for Bigfoot, everything I saw would be Bigfoot. You know what I mean? You can get in that train of thought pretty easy. So yeah, that's exactly the way I look at things. Like, okay, what is it not first, or what can I rule out for sure?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Ian, we talked. I think we were on air before on a different show talking about, man, that would be the hardest thing is if you go out on an investigation, not putting everything into whatever you're looking for. That would, I said I would have. I think we've even talked about that. Like I said I would have trouble with that. I'm being honest with you. And getting back to the tree structure, a tree twist, because we keep getting this question, having a tree that's twisted around. Have you come across that at all? Is that a behavior of a primate or Bigfoot?
Well, a couple things. Absolutely. I can tell you, depends on the tree itself. If it's a big, giant oak tree, maple tree, you see broke over and twisted, well, that's the work of nature, because a lot of big trees, when they fall, because of weight and momentum, they will have a twist in their break. Even smaller trees, when they break over or get bent over, well, here's a fun fact that a lot of people don't realize, and I have pointed this out numerous times in the past. A lot of trees, you don't see what's on the inside, but a lot of the fibers actually grow in a spiral formation. A lot of people don't know that, but I challenge everybody to do the research on trees. But yeah, a lot of them grow in a spiral formation. May not always be the case. So I wanted to share that before I go any further. Now, I have found trees, like small saplings, maybe 2 or 3 inches round, that have been completely corkscrewed, broke over and corkscrewed, in complete twist. When I say corkscrew, like a 360-degree twist. My buddy Olaf that was just commenting on here, the one you call Oz, his name's actually Olaf. He lives here in Virginia too, by the way. Okay. When he comes to my event, and he's had it on display, he has this massive tree. It's probably about a good, maybe, I don't know. Forgive me if I'm wrong, Olaf, but it's probably about 3 to 4, maybe 5 inches round. But there is a good portion of it. It is completely spiraled and twisted where it's broke. And he has that preserved where like I said, he brings it to the event to put on display. And that came from the Uori Forest in North Carolina. That was probably one of the, I would say, one of the better ones I've seen. But yeah, a lot of the tree twists I've come across that I find fascinating are smaller trees. A lot of smaller trees that get mangled too. Here's another thing too. I used to get excited on a lot of small tree twists and stuff, but on your smaller trees, you got to look at deer. You got to look at what they do to these small saplings when they're, rubbing the fell off their antlers, and they will mangle the heck out of these small saplings, and you'll see them broke over. Some of them, because when they wrap their antlers around them while they're doing their thing, they'll get mangled, and some of them might end up twisting, especially if they're rotating the head around while they're tangled. So there's your twist. Another possibility too, another thing to keep in mind is bears. Like I mentioned earlier, bears are very destructive with trees, big and small. A bear, for whatever reason, if they're biting onto that tree, I mean, a bear could twist something by, gnawing on it and yanking on it and doing like kind of the similar movement as a deer, but not so much. There's a less smaller likely possibility of them doing that versus what a deer would do. However, bears are very destructive. They will push over and bend and break trees. I still get excited on a lot of trees that I find twisted. If they're bent over and twisted, like, again, it all depends on the size of them. Like I said, if it's a big giant 20-inch round tree, I mean, nature did all that, but yeah, it's something that will look like, something that would be in the possible realm of a human to a large, strong human that could possibly handle. It's what I would maybe get excited over. But regardless, when I find these different twisted trees, I still get excited about them to like consider other whatever. It depends on the scenario. I mean, how is it twisted? Where is it located? Is there anything else around it destroyed? You know, like I've been with other people driving down the forest road, and they point out a twisted tree. You know, that it's like really mangled. Okay, first initial thought, if you look at just that tree, okay, there's something interesting there. But then if you look at the whole side of the forest road, all these trees are ripped and mangled because there's a piece of equipment that went through there and did this, you know? So, you know, so there's all these other scenarios. These are things you got to think about, you know, look at the whole picture, not just one. There's a whole section here that says there's something big going on other than what you're thinking it is. So, you know, there's all these other possibilities. So, yeah, like I said, it's not always easy to think of all these things, but that's where we got to be because we want to think about what's out of this world rather than what's already here. That's the problem with a majority of the people involved with all this. So, have I heard a Bigfoot scream before? I've heard some very strange howls and I've heard whoops and a lot of different howls. I have heard a scream before. It wasn't a long scream, but the funny thing is about this scream, I had it off of my recorder. It was probably came around to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning hours. And I kept listening to this scream. And it's like, part of me is like, okay, this sounds familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. So I started going through these likely sounds of animals. I went on YouTube one day and I started listening to the different sounds. Like one of my first thoughts were, when I first heard this sound, I'm thinking, okay, this could be a fox because I've heard foxes make all kinds of weird sounds. We used to have tons of them on our property. But when I listened to this, I think, oh, okay. I'm listening to the different screams and the barks of a fox. Although I've come close and some very similar, there was still that difference. There was still something that, okay, this ain't adding up. I can't really pinpoint it quite yet to a fox. So then I got to thinking about owls. I've heard so many different screams and crazy sounds from barred owls right here in Virginia. So I started going through the different sounds of owls. Nope, I couldn't find anything to compare. But yeah, I have it on my SoundCloud. It's uploaded on my public SoundCloud. It's actually under my name with the number 7 afterwards. I don't know how the 7 got there when I created SoundCloud many years ago. But I don't know. It's Daniel Benoit 7. I don't know. Yeah. But so yeah, you can look it up. I have there's coyotes, there's owls, and there's other sounds on there. But I do have I think I have it titled as an unknown scream or something like that, or yell. But so I mean that's the most I could say. I could say if I've heard a scream, I felt like it was more of a yell than a scream. But yeah, if you want to look that up, anyone listening, again, it's on my SoundCloud profile. Again, it's probably called Unknown Yell. So, but even to this day, when I think back on it, I still feel like it could be a fox. But then again, like I said, I just wasn't able to find anything that sounded that identical. But fox, I would have to say fox. Out of all the animals I looked up, fox would probably be the closest. But it could be a fox. It just sounded different to me, you know. So I don't know.
So people can check it out on your SoundCloud, Unknown Yell number 7. Then put that.
Well, yeah, my name. Well, it's not number 7. My name, Daniel Benoit 7. That's my name of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like I said, when I created it, I don't know how the 7 got in there, but with my name, but yeah. So, but
sticking with the encounter side of it. I know Tom mentioned that you had an encounter when you read your intro there. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How close you were? Describe what you saw?
Well, during this situation, I wasn't alone. It was actually May 3rd of 2014, right here in Virginia. And this was around the Elkhorn Lake area. The documentary Beasts of Elkhorn Lake was actually based off of this. And yeah. So yeah, like I said, there was a total of 6 of us who shared this encounter. But excuse me, it was during one of our group campouts, and we did a lot of hiking and exploring during the daytime. It was on that May 3rd, where after we got back from a day hike, we've been around camp resting, doing whatever. where everybody agreed that they wanted to go on a night hike. I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah, that sounds
part of what we're here for. Yeah, because at nighttime when you're out in the woods, everything becomes alive. Everything wakes up.
Sure,
So
yeah.
you never know what to expect. You get to hear all the different wildlife, which I love it. The owls and everything else in between, coyotes, and then whatever else is willing to put themselves out there. So yeah, so after we went on this hike, we went on. It was in the evening. It was still daylight. It was approximately from our location. It was probably just under a mile, almost a mile from where we went. But we went down to the lake that was down into this. It was like I said, it was almost a mile from our campsite, and we headed down there. And we got down there, and there was nobody there, which was nice because, of course, this was during the middle of the week, and usually there's people down there fishing because that lake does get stocked with trout. So I guess because everybody was at work, and so yeah, we had the whole lake to ourselves. And then we decided to pair up and split up in twos, kind of spread out around the lake, and we all had radio communication. And let's see, we had Kimmy and Darren. They stayed at the little mini peninsula at the beginning of the lake. Yeah, they were down from Vermont, and of course it was my buddy Cliff Stanley and my buddy Tracy Arnold and his son. His son was 14 and 13, 14 at the time. Now he's grown. Like I said, yeah, he's grown now. He's a security guard or correctional officer at a prison now. So yeah, he was a little guy back then. But, so yeah, we were all spread out around the lake. We had radio communication. I mean, we did some vocals and this and that. Listened to our parabolic mics. A couple of us had the parabolic mics, and so yeah, we heard a few things. Nothing to really get excited about. I mean, the vocal was kind of interesting because that was a response to what Kimmy did, and yeah, it was interesting. So forgive me, I'm kind of skimming through some of this to get get closer to the main part. Because I've told this story so many times. So yeah, so when it was already dark, it got to the point where it was already dark, and we were there for a few hours, and we decided let's all meet up and regroup and start working our way back to camp. So we all pulled out we all had headlamps on by the time we were ready to go, and we were headed out to from the lake, going out to the main forest road. It wasn't too long of a walk, but as we were going up that road, it was all gravel, walking in single file line. We're just talking amongst ourselves. We're not trying to keep quiet whatsoever. And while we're walking along, here comes this deer. I mean, of course, it's total darkness. Even though we got headlamps on, you see this. Yeah, you see these set of eyeballs just bobbing along. I was like, what the heck? Oh, and it's a deer. I said, oh, wow, this deer's awful close. It was probably a good 10 feet away. And the reason I thought that was interesting, I was like, okay, that deer should have already been gone. We had a chance to notice it. That's how close, it was 10 feet away before it walked off nonchalantly and disappeared further into the dark. Well, okay, that was cool, whatever. We continued walking. But right past where that deer walked in, over on the opposite side, something catches my attention. Now, as I tell people, anyone who's familiar with the National Forest or any parts of the forest here in Virginia, sometimes you have these random little yellow signs on trees. And what they say in our area, they say no vehicles beyond this point. Well, my headlight was reflecting on something. And that's right away, that's what thought I was looking at. It's like, that's a weird place for one of these signs to be because it's all thick, heavy woods through here, But all of a sudden, I'm still staring at it. And I guess my eyes became more focused on it as my lights were looking at it. It became so in focus, I realized it actually blinked. I said, what the hell? It was actually a set of eye shine. And I was like, what the heck is that? Yeah, and now it's probably from where I was at the time, it was probably a good 30 feet or so. But I'm staring at it. And my buddy Tracy Arnold was the next one behind me. I was like, when I said to him, I threw my finger out and pointed. I said, Tracy, is that a freaking mountain lion? That was after I realized it was a set of eyes. That was the first thought that came to my mind. After realizing it was eyes, and we're both staring at it, and all of a sudden we see it like zip off. Whatever it was, it just shot off. And I was like, "What the heck?" Trace was like, "Guys, get up here. We got some eye shine up here." So we all regroup. We get into that spot. We walked up to there. We're looking into the woods, trying to see if we could pick it up again. Sure enough, looking down. No, for the record, I have to tell everybody this. From where we were standing, the ground did slope down several feet and level back out. So yes, it was on whatever we were looking at to begin with was behind this tree, and it kind of went downhill right there. So either it was small or it was just because it was on the hill. But then again, we picked up the set of eye shine again, and it was probably another 30 to 40 feet out. But we're seeing the same eye shine. And for the record, and anyone that's never heard this before, the eye shine, they were very large, bright yellowish looking eyes. And yes, I will say yellow. I did not see any other colors but bright yellow looking eyes.
Okay.
And what we're looking at, whatever this was, keep in mind, we had no way, we weren't able to see no physical features, no hair, fur, etc. Just the eye shine because we had some of us had some bright headlamps on. And keep in mind, this was after midnight and it was totally dark, and our beam of light only went so far, considering it was dark and kind of, I don't know, gloomy. But we're looking at this and we're seeing this eye shine, and it's doing this number real fast. It's doing a fast, swiftly side to side movement. And now, for the record, not once at all in the whole beginning of this did I ever thought of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or anything. I'm just trying to, whatever I'm looking at, it's not making sense to me. And here I am. I'm familiar with all the different species that live in this area. I mean, bears usually have red eye shine at night. Every black bear I've seen always had red eyes. This year was something totally different. I just was not able to make it out. And we did know, even though the ground was lower, when we were looking down at it, it was doing this pretty swift swaying motion. And now, for the record, even though I didn't think Sasquatch or Bigfoot, later on, I got back to looking at this whole thing. I said, you know what? Primates do that out of anxiety, and other various reasons.
Yeah.
And I was like, that never dawned on me during that whole session. But while we're looking at this, like I say, it's swaying side to side pretty swiftly. And then while we're looking at this, maybe a few minutes later, after looking at that, about 4 to 5 feet over to the right of that small one, keep in mind, we estimated that to be around 4 feet tall, by the way. Whatever it was. We estimated about 4 feet. But 4 or 5 feet to the right of that, a second set of eye shine appears. Same color, very large, but this one sat up a couple feet higher. So here we are. We got a 4-foot one. Now we got whatever they are, a 6-foot one. And even though the small one's still swaying side to side, the big one never moved. It just occasionally blinked its eyes a few times. It had the ability to blink, whatever it was. And I guess because maybe our lights were kind of bright. You stare in the bright light, you're not going to keep your eyes open the whole time, So you got to blink, let yourself get adjusted. So that's what I figured. Okay, our lights are shining at whatever we're looking at. So we got these two subjects right here, and it's kind of getting interesting. Keep in mind, I'm still not thinking Bigfoot. Nobody that was there seeing all this never mentioned Bigfoot at all. But I'm looking around, and like I said, there's a lot of trees there. There's some thick bushes right in there off to the right, and all of a sudden I look down below the bushes, even though it was kind of thick. I was like, "What the heck is that?" I was like, "There's another set of eye shine down there," and this third set of eye shine looked like it was literally on the ground. I mean, from the distance, I was looking at it, of course, but I'm watching this third set of eye shine. All of a sudden, it starts growing, like raising up. And I was like, I'm watching it. My eyes are glued on whatever that set of eyes, and I was locked onto it. And whatever it was, it kept going up. It stopped. When it stopped, it was towering over top of what we estimated the 6-foot one to be by another 2 feet. So now we're looking at 3 subjects. We have a 4-foot, 6-foot, now something that's standing around 8 feet tall. So all 3 of them had the same color eye shine. They were large, bright yellow looking eyes. This tall one, yeah, it blinked his eyes once or twice. And it's funny because now Sasquatch, Bigfoot gets brought up by my buddy Tracy. He's like, guys, we got squatches. And when he said that, I was like, okay, yeah, I want to believe that, but I need something more to confirm that because we're not seeing no physical features, no hair, nothing, just the eye shine. And small ones still swaying side to side pretty swiftly. Well, it did get interesting because something happened. That big one, I kept looking at that big one. Something told me to keep looking at that big one. And it turned to its left, or at least it appeared to do so, where it turned to its left and took a step or two and looked right back at us. And when it did that, I believe it was probably because the proper angle or the position that our lights picked it up at the right angle or the right position, whatever you want to call it, where you could clearly make out the shape of very wide, broad shoulders and a big round head sitting on top of the very broad shoulders. Ooh. And at that moment, when I seen this, I was like, these ain't no bears. Not that I was thinking they were bears, but bears don't have shoulders. I don't care. You can have a 10-foot tall bear, their head's going to just slope straight down to their sides. They don't have what me and you have. Think of a football player, but a little bit wider, maybe.
Shoulder pad.
So yeah, I was convinced that what we were seeing was Bigfoot, Sasquatch. There's nothing else in those woods I can compare that to for what I saw. And
how far away do you think you were from him?
Probably between 30 and 40 feet easily.
Oh,
yeah. Because we did what we did. We went down and did a daytime. We did a daytime comparison the next day, and we got in the same position. And me and I'm trying to remember his name. Cliff. He was probably a little taller than I'm 6 foot tall. Cliff was probably about a couple inches taller than me. Me and him got down there. Well, a couple others were down there, but I think Tracy or somebody who stayed up on the road on the edge by where we were. And we were down there. We got down behind the bushes, and we were both standing there, and we were both putting our arms up. And if I put my hands up, like with my fingertips pointing up all the way over above my head, that was where the eye shine was. And with them saying that was what right there where the eye shine was, our height comparison was pretty accurate, I guess, for what we estimated. Right. So, 4 foot, 6 foot, and 8 foot. So, even though we still didn't see no physical features, a couple of things are, why didn't we see hair? I'm thinking they had to have been black, where they were blending in, their hair or fur was blending in with the nighttime darkness. Sure. That's the only other thing that would make sense. So, and then again, maybe this is wrong, but I'm assuming that they were a family unit because they were a child, a possible female, and the big boy being a male, So I'm sorry, what was that?
I just want to get to the fascinating story, but I just wanted to get to this gentleman in the chat here. If you want to reach out to Jim, or if you know him on Facebook, he knows. This was back when you were talking about your sound, the voices. So I just wanted to make sure. I don't know if you knew him or not, but Jim, he might have a guy that can analyze that for you.
Jim. He's on my Facebook. Yeah, send me a message later, Jim, and then I'll send you the link to that and let you do whatever, play around with that. So, because I have some other audio too. If you want to, I'll be more than glad to submit. So, absolutely.
Yeah, just trying to, hook people up to where they're supposed to be.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, Daniel, we're coming down to it. Why don't you tell everybody out there, and then when this becomes a podcast later, tell everybody where they can find you, your books, everything. Go ahead and promote it. The time's yours.
Well, I'm very public. Everything about me is right here on social media under my name, Daniel Benoit, ECBRO. You can do a Google search. You'll be surprised what you might find about me too. So, Google my name, Daniel Benoit, ECBRO, or Daniel Benoit, Bigfoot. You'll find a way to connect with me one way or another. I got the annual event every year. It's the annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. Goes on every June. We have the Facebook page. You can look that up. Trying to think. There's so many other things out there. I'm getting things mixed up right now. I got some upcoming projects. There's some film documentaries that I already have that I'm featured in already. There's one that I am working on with me and my research team. It will be a film series that I am producing, and it's coming in. Our filming starts around May of 2025, so that's something to keep in mind and look forward to. It'll be free to watch because we do plan on putting it on YouTube. If the audience is there and the audience is growing on there, we'll keep it on YouTube. We'll keep it free and convenient for the public because we have been in talks with Paraflix where they may possibly add it onto their network. But for the time being, we're going to start off on YouTube and see how things go from there. So feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Bigfoot Zone, ECBRO. It's free to subscribe. It's not going to cost you 1 cent. So stop being scared. No, I don't want to get charged. No, you're not going to get charged. YouTube is free. So yeah, a lot of people, you'll be surprised. A lot of people think like that, That's why I say things like that. People are afraid to subscribe because they don't want to get charged or think it's going to cost them money, So,
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, there's anything you want to know, you can shoot me an email, ecbro98. I'm not hard to find. On my website, ecbrofounder.com. Yeah, anybody that's new that's listening to me for the first time, I'm sorry if I come across as a negative Nelly with a lot of what I spoke about. I'm very objective and I look at things critical. Yeah. I try to stay logical the best I can. And I am a knower. I'm not just a believer. Some of my content I put out on my YouTube videos, on my little, educational videos, I had people thinking, okay, this is a non-believer putting negative stuff out there. No, I am a believer. I am a knower. It's just learn to understand what I'm saying, and you won't think negative towards me. But yeah, I feel like I have to start saying that, and I probably will keep saying that because people need to learn to listen, But yeah, that's pretty much what I got. Like I said, keep an eye out for the projects coming up in 2025. Again, follow me on Facebook, whatever's easy, more convenient for you. And yeah, I just thank you guys for listening. So
I know I blab on your busy schedule. Thank you so much for doing this. And please, open invite to be on the radar. I'm sure Ian would love to have you on, his show as well, the Nerd Informer. Absolutely. And when those shows, anytime throughout the winter, but definitely when, we'll have you on again when those, the films start to get ready to come out. We'll have you again to promote them here too, awesome. On the network. But everybody, that's it for our 12 Cryptids of Christmas. The special thanks to the Kraken, the Swamp Ghoul, Skunk Ape, Flatwoods Monster, Maryland Goatman, Michigan Dogman, that was a good one, Melonhead, Van Meter Monster, the Dark Watchers, Poke Lick, and Bear Lake Monsters. Thank you all. All of them, I'm sure, have some kind of festival in their own town, respectively. Yeah. And then to Daniel, thank you so much for the Bigfoot portion of the 12 Cryptids. Hopefully you guys like that. Yeah, thank you. I'm Tom from Beyond the Radar. That's Ian from the Nerd Informer podcast. And, everybody will, you can catch me Fridays at 9. Ian, you can catch Wednesdays at 7. New episodes pretty much every week. Mm-hmm. And, please stay tuned, help us grow the Oracle Talk Radio Network. We just want to promote all of these discussions about the paranormal, the cryptid, the UFOs, and all that kind of fun stuff. So listen to us. We are on iHeartRadio, believe it or not. They gave us a platform for whatever reason. And we have an app, and you can catch us on your favorite podcasting platform. That's the Oracle Talk Radio Network. Thank you both so much. Everyone in the chat, great. Thank you so much for interacting. That's why we do it. That's why we want to have people here talking to us, asking questions. Everybody have a good weekend, and have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.